Hi guys, Shogi Harbour here. In the last video I was asked in the comments about the Shogi notation, so I decided to make a video about it. Of course, if you have any further questions about anything, please write in the comments so that I can make a video about it. So today I will be talking about 3 types of notations. One which is Japanese, next which is Western, and old style chess-like. There will be also a mixed notation, but it's already a little bit confusing, so let's just start with the basics. So as we look on Shogi board, you can already see there are some numbers on the edges of the board, and you can see that top right is 1. So why is that? That is because when you write Japanese, you start writing from top right, then you go left and left. You write from top to bottom. This is why the top right square will be the 1-1 square. And how do we read the coordinates? Well, think of it this way. The most important will be the player. So first you will read those coordinates, then you will read those coordinates. One important thing to mention is that we are actually viewing the board from black's view, so from the first mover. Although, if this is a handicap game, and this person, for example, doesn't have a bishop, we will still look from black's view, even though this side will have first move. Okay? It's handicap games is a little bit different. So first we will read the players row and then this column. So we go 1 1, then we go this number and this number. So we go 2 1, 3 1, 4 1, and so on to 9 1. Now if we read this column again, we read this number first. 1 2, 1 3, 1 4. It's worth noting that Shogi board is 9 by 9, so it means the 5th column and row will be the middle. So here will be 1 9, and as I said, we have clear center also defined, which will be 5 5. So if you go through this diagonal, it will be 4 4 3 3 2 2, and it's kinda easy to remember this way. And as you fill up other numbers, you will have the full notation on the board. Something like this. So as we have the full notation, now how do we write or read the move? So in order to define a move, we always need few things. One which will be the turn. Then we will have the piece. Then destination square. Then depending on the notation, this might be here. Some way of distinction between pieces. So special way of showing which piece is it. This is about the case when you will have, for example, 2 tokens here, and then we wanna define which one moves to that square, because both of them can go there. And finally we will have promotion or not. There is also one other thing that might come over here, which will be if we take a piece or not. But yeah, depending on the system it will be different, so let's concentrate on the points that we have. So turn, usually in the books, you will have the Shogi piece mark, and if it's Sento's turn, this will be a black piece mark, and if it's Goto's turn, it's the white one. Now the piece type depends on the notation. So if it's Japanese notation, you will have kanji. Then if it's Western one, you will have the letter, and the same for the chess-like. The square usually will be like numbers. Same for Japanese or Western, but the old style of writing would be 1 number, 1 letter. The letters would be here, so A, B, C would be like this. Finally, we have special way of showing which piece is it. In case of computer programs, for example this, you will have a previous square being written, for example 7G to 7F. In case of Japanese it will be a little bit confusing, so I will show it later. And in Western notation usually you will have the number written somewhere in bracket. Now the promotion or not, in Japanese it will be a kanji, which is naru, or you will have not naru, which is unpromoted. And in case of Western, plus means promotion, and the equal sign means non-promoted. Alright, so let me quickly explain all the piece names. So we have the king, we have the rook. The king, we will use the king with the dot. King is K, rook is R, bishop is B, gold is G, silver is S, knight is N. That's because the K is already in the king, so we take the second letter in the word knight. Lance, pawn. Now the promotions, the rook will be dragon, but in case of the Western notation we will write plus something, so promoted something, promoted rook. Gold doesn't have a promotion. Now in case of promoted smaller pieces, we will use the same kanji, but we will add the sign for promotion before it. So for example, promoted silver, promoted knight, right? So it's kind of the same thing, promoted something. Exception because talking is to, so it's written like this. And in some cases you might now write promoted pawn, in some cases you would write T as talking. But if my memory serves me right, usually it's promoted pawn. You might also notice that some people write D instead of plus rook as a dragon, then horse, but I think promoted rook, promoted bishop, promoted pawn is more proper way to do it. It's less confusing as well. Alright, so now we know how to do the turn, we know how to write the piece. The square we already know, so I will just write A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I. That would be in case of the computers. And here we go to the special way of showing which piece to move. So I will now make a clear distinction between the styles we're writing, okay? We'll have the Japanese one, Western, and chess-like will be similar, so chess-like. And then we will have a mix, but it will be pretty easy to understand. So Japanese one is used in Japanese books, in Japanese applications, magazines, as you can see here an example. Western is most often used on internet when you talk to other people or in English books. Chess-like is old style of writing, it's still visible in some books or computer programs. Mix is used in Hidechi translated books printed by Nekomado. And also you can find some other variations in some other types of books. So Japanese will have few new characters you have to learn. This all comes to the fact when you need special distinction between pieces. So for example, you have those 3 silvers and you want to move them to here. And now is the question, which one do you move? So in Japanese we will have few kanji that helps you make the distinction. One kanji will be when the piece goes up, the other one when it goes down, sideways. Then we will have piece going from the right. It's a little bit confusing. It will go from the right side. Yeah, but basically we will have 2 types. We will have one showing you the direction that piece moves, and the other will be which piece is moving. So there will be a little bit confusion here. So here we have right piece will move. This will be the left piece that is going to move, and then we will have piece that goes straight forward. So kanji for going up will be like this, for going down which will be actually pulling back. So this is ue, this is hiku, this is yoru, which goes sideways. This is the piece going from the right side, which is migi, from the left side, hidari, and straight up, which is choku. And then we will have a special indications for when you take a piece, which is written by the kanji of onajiku, or do. And this means takes on the same square, so this means same square. And it's used only in specific situations. And finally we will have kanji for dropping, so drop. So those kanji will be only used when there is some problem with distinction. So even though you drop a piece, it's not gonna be written. It's gonna be written only, for example, when you drop the silver here. because you need to indicate that it's not those silvers. In that case, you would write 5, 8 silver drop. And this goes at the end. One more confusion is that sometimes the Shogi board will have this notation, the Japanese one. So instead of using normal numbers on the right, like A, B, C before, we'll have the Japanese numbers here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So basically this is Japanese numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the 9, but in Japanese version. So sometimes you will see like 5, 8 silver drop, for example. But fun fact is, when we write games of professionals, usually we use this notation. So it depends. I just checked that most of my books will have this notation, so you just have to learn how to count to 9 in Japanese. And usually the diagrams have those written next to them, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem. This might be more problematic, yeah. How do we use those? Usually you should use those on the left. In this example though, all of the silvers are in the same line, which means all of them can move up. So we will have to use this. We will have 5, 8 silver. Now how do we make the distinction which one? If you move this one, it will be from the left. If you move this one, it will be from the right. If you move this one, it will be forward. Yeah, make sure this is forward, not up, because all of them can go up. And this kanji is only used for generals, because usually you can define everything using the other kanji. And by generals, I also mean like promoted light pieces like talking. They also will need this because of the situation where you have 3 of those in one line. Okay, here's another example. So as we said, all of them will move here. So 5, 8 silver. And both of those silvers can go up, both of those silvers can go down. So first you will have indication of left or right. So if this silver goes, he goes from the left, and then he goes down, which is hiku. So left silver goes down. If this left silver goes up, it will be left goes up. Now if this silver goes down, you don't need to say that he goes down, because there's only one silver on the right, so it will be silver from the right. A little bit confusing, but just the kanji for the right is enough to make the distinction, and this silver will be just going forward. It is very confusing, it is, but the more you will read it, the more you will understand. So one more example. So we're trying to go to 5, 8, talking. If we go from the right, there's only one pawn on the right, so boom. If we go down, there's only one talking that goes down, so it will just go down. You can go upward to show that straight up, which is this one. And the most confusion will be with those. This talking can move sideways, so we will have this kanji here, sideways. And finally this talking, which goes from the left, but we have 2 of those, so we have to make the distinction that he goes from the left, but he goes also up. Yeah, so this is basically how you do it with the Japanese notation. The other pieces like dragon or horse won't have this kanji, but I will use other ones. Yeah, generals are the most difficult ones to remember, but I mean, it doesn't appear too often to have this many talkings on the board, so you shouldn't worry, but just that you know. Western notation will be much easier. You're just gonna say that the talking moves from, let's say, 6, 9, 5, 8 or something. Or there is also this type of writing, depends. Finally, in Hideti's notation, he will use the kanji, he will use the original square, he will put the sign for movement, and the final square. If there would be an opponent's piece here, Western and Hidechi notation will simply say that they are taking the piece. The Japanese notation won't mention that fact. They will just say that the piece moved here. Unless the opponent just dropped it on this square. So we will have 5-8 pawn, right? Because in Japanese we don't say drop. In let's say Western notation it will be pawn drop. Drop will be written with the star. In old books it will be written with a apostrophe. 5-8. Okay, and this is the goddess move. So immediately after that, if you would take this pawn, you're gonna say pawn takes. You're not gonna repeat the same square name. And in Japanese it will be, well, let's forget that there are those talkings, it will overcomplicate stuff, but it basically will be the same square talking. So the talking will retake it on the same square. This is how you use the kanji for taking, only when you actually answer on the move plate in that square before. So on the same square as I mentioned before, you take it. In case of Western, anytime you take a piece, you're gonna write it. Alright, so we know how to write the turn, the piece, the square, the special way of showing, and finally we have promotion. Let's say you have a pawn here, and you move it to this square, and then you want to promote. So how are you gonna write this? So you write that sente. We know that sente because this is 1-1 square. Sente will go 2-3 pawn with promotion, or sente will go pawn 2-3 square with promotion. This is the Hidechi style. Or finally the Western one, pawn will go to 3 square with promotion, or like this, or like this. This is the one that I use. Okay, let's do another example. Let's say that you have a gold here and you want to drop the gold here. Okay, this is the gold in your hand. This is the opponent's king, so that would be a checkmate. So how do you write it? Your sente, and you drop 5-2 gold, and because there are 2 golds on the board, you have to make the indication it's a drop. Okay, Hidechi style. The other style would be gold drop 5-2 or gold drop 5-2 or 5b. This is the style of drop used in Tony Hosking's book, like The Art of Shogi. Let's say you move the knight here and you wanna fork those 2 nice golds, so you jump here without promotion. Let's say you're goddess, so this will be 1-1. Okay, now the board is upside down, so again we will have, this time it will be 5-7, knight unpromoted. Okay, it goes to 5-7 unpromoted, and knight goes to 5-7 unpromoted, or with the tick, or 5g. Yeah, and the most confusing one again, if your opponent just moved the silver to here in the previous move, and now you're retaking it with promotion with your pawn, you're gonna write a sente, same square, pawn retakes with promotion, pawn, or Hidechi style, pawn takes with promotion, Western style, pawn takes with promotion. Okay, and the last confusing example with the drops. If you have a talking here, a lance, a king, and you wanna drop the lance here to checkmate him, and here, then you're gonna write sente 9-2 lance In Japanese, you're gonna omit the sign for drop because there's only one lens you can drop here. Hidachi style lens drop 9.2 and Western style lens drop 9.2. Meantime, this is example from 81 Dojo. You can change the style you're using the settings. Here is the Japanese one, using the Japanese coordinate as the second coordinate. Then you have the Western one, which is a little bit confusing because it's stylized on the Japanese. The kanji is substituted with the Western alphabet. Finally, you have the, he calls it chess-like, but this is the standard Western style of noting. And there is no ABC one because we believe this is the wrong way of representing the coordinates on Shogi board. So I hope this video was helpful to you, enable you to read some Japanese books, to read your own Kifu, and good luck on your Shogi journey. See you in the next video.